We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Allison Fields is a veterinarian. She's here this morning to take your calls about, well, whatever you'd like to ask. 737-7587. More to discuss. We got a few calls waited through the break. Let's go to Ann. Ann, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Ann.
Hey, we recently had a neighbor that left and left behind 6 cats. And we found homes for 3, and my neighbors and I are taking care of the other 3. The problem is fleas. I've never had a problem with my cat, and she gets treated. And the house that the cats lived in also had 3 dogs. And I think the problem is the house is empty, and my cat goes to visit where the cats used to live. And new cats are coming to sleep on my porch and in the area around my house because we're trying to get them tame enough that we can find homes for them.
Okay.
Is it safe for me to put flea powder on my cat if I'm already doing the little drop on the neck?
What little drops are you using?
Oh, gosh, I get them at the vet, and if it wasn't so early in the morning, I could tell you. But
Okay, so with
a
cats.
10-pound cat, and she's about 6 years old.
Okay, so flea powders are kind of passe. I mean, we don't really need flea powders if we're using a good topical. And so with cats, I really recommend staying with the name brand stuff, either Frontline or Advantage. There's a veterinary carried Frontline generic called Easy Spot. But Advantage and Frontline are the 2 that I think topically work the best for cats and give you the long-lasting control. There's one other product that you can get from your vet called Comfortis, which is an oral tablet. Has to be given with a meal. Can be a little challenging in cats because the pills are pretty big and you've got to break them up and hope they eat them. But it works really, really well if you can get it in the cat with a meal. Lasts for 30 days. So, you know, I think that trying to treat those 3 cats that you have left, that the neighbors left, would go a long way, because if you can kind of stop what's going on them, that's going to help as well. And then vacuum your upholstery. If you have upholstery that they're sleeping on the front porch, they're collecting flea eggs and stuff like that. So just vacuum it up and throw your vacuum cleaner bag away or empty your canister.
And wouldn't the flea control that she has on her pets protect them from the fleas from these other cats?
It
I
will.
mean, not that it would keep them out of her house.
The thing is that those topicals typically have about a 12-hour kill time, which means that they're walking around, they get a flea on them, that flea has enough time to lay eggs and continue the life cycle. Topicals work great, especially when you're not in a heavily flea-infested area. The Comfortis, the pill that I was talking about, has a kill time of 4 hours. So it actually can kill the fleas before they start laying eggs.
In the grand design of everything, what purpose do fleas play in nature?
I have no clue.
I mean, they have to. Everything
just
has a purpose, a realm. I mean, fleas, I assume they are a food source for certain critters.
Sure.
Okay, so perhaps that.
Chickens and birds and stuff eat insects like that.
Yeah, so
I think
part of the food
purposely
chain.
Their whole thing is like, you know, spreading bubonic plague.
Not a good thing, but
No,
all right. Well, see, I mean, everything has maybe ups and downs. I'm trying to think, what's the positives of a flea? I mean, you go to humans. There's a lot of awful humans out there, but there's a lot of good that comes from humans.
I don't really see that many good fleas hanging around.
Flea? Yeah, I don't know about the good flea fellas. I'm just wondering.
Let me know when you figure that one out.
Fleas are a challenge. Let's go to Bob. Bob, good morning.
Oh, good morning. It's a good program.
Hey.
I appreciate you. First thing, pets, they might cost thousands of dollars a year. And that's the only reason I'm thinking about it. I'm getting a small one. Another thing is all these floods and the stagnant water and this, that, and other things, even on the runs, dogs run through that. You got to be careful and check, because they can can catch disease and give disease to their owners.
Well, now, let's hit on a couple things there from him. First of all, what kind of illnesses, if any, can be transmitted from a dog to a human?
Very few.
I would think very few. Now, you can get fleas,
Right.
But besides that, what else?
You can...
Well, rabies.
Rabies is one. Leptospirosis is another. It's not super common, but it can happen. It's transmitted in the urine.
Okay.
And so, if your dog had an accident in the house and has leptospirosis and you clean it up and happen to splash some in your face, but that's very rare. And most of the time we vaccinate dogs for leptospirosis, which is why it's important to vaccinate for leptospirosis. There is a mange mite, sarcoptic mange, that dogs can get that can be transferred to people, also known as scabies.
Okay.
Gosh, I'm probably.
Do you remember when they had
intestinal parasites? That's the big
that
one.
Ebola scare, and some of those
Yep.
people that came back had a couple of their dogs taken in quarantine. I think maybe one or two of them
Well,
may
the
have been
first
put
one got
down.
euthanized.
That's
Spain,
right.
The nurse in Spain.
Yeah, which was a shame. I'm just curious, and I know you're no Ebola expert, but I mean, is that
actually-
something that can go from both? back
Yes,
and
I
forth?
have an article. Apparently, dogs can become infected with Ebola. If I remember, this is a couple years ago now that I read it.
Carriers?
And they can be carriers, but it's a short-lived time period, which is why subsequently after that one dog with the Spanish nurse was euthanized, everybody else was quarantined. And so I can't remember if they can become carriers, but it's very short-lived. But I don't think that it's ever been proven that they can transfer it to a human.
curious,
I
yeah.
think they can kind of incubate it, but then there's this immune system's.
Okay.
I think.
And Bob hit this other thing about the cost of having a pet. And just
Sure.
on its surface, so people realize when you think if you're going to get a dog or a cat as a Christmas or holiday gift, whatever, how much should you anticipate spending in a year? Let's just throw this out there for a dog, okay? Including the cost of spaying and neutering, which is a one-time thing. But then beyond that, for a year period, for a typical dog that maybe doesn't have any special health problems, between food, between checkups, if they will, for getting the flea and tick stuff and the occasional vaccinations,
And
if you get a
heartworm
dog,
prevention.
heartworm,
So-
we're talking several $100s over a course
it
of a
depends
year.
how big your dog is.
Yeah.
If you have a small dog, and let's say we're past the first year, we're past all the puppy shots, we're past the spay/neuter. So year 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have a medium-sized dog, it's probably going to run you $80 to $90 a year for heartworm prevention.
Okay. Just to give people a
Probably
budget.
about 60 or 70 for flea control probably about $100 for flea control for 6 months.
Okay.
And then your vaccines are probably going to run you, depending on where you go, and you get all three, rabies, distemper parvo, bordetella, and if you get lepto, probably around $100.
All right, so I guess.
Annually, you're probably looking at about $350 for a healthy dog.
Yeah, and that's vet bills.
And that's
then
just preventative.
Then you think into the food, the standard stuff
Right.
that has to come into play. I'm just saying
Right.
there's a financial responsibility that comes to
Well-
it. Now, over a year, it's not a lot when you break it down, but
Right.
you just need to understand there's costs involved.
And
If you're not going to spend it,
typically,
don't get the dog.
That first year is more expensive because you have puppy shots,
Sure.
every 2 to 3 weeks, and you got deworming, and you've got to get them spayed or neutered, and la 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 la. And then year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are pretty, maybe have an ear infection here or there, some diarrhea here or there, but on the whole, you might go to the vet, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. But then as they get older, they start getting more expensive as well because they're starting to have problems, they're starting to have illnesses.
Skin allergies, so they get their
They're,
teeth cleaned.
Arthritis.
Do you count, like for instance, the time that puppy of yours chewed up your Gucci bag? Now that was a $3,000 bag.
I don't
and
have a
when that
Gucci
Gucci
bag.
bag got chewed up.
No, let's
I mean,
talk
that's-
about my cat chewing up. We actually added it up, and my middle cat, I think we figured out, has cost us about $1,000 or $1,200 in things he's chewed up.
Now chewed up because have you ever seen the cat go up to the couch and go like this?
Well, they don't have claws, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, but if they did.
No, I'm talking chewing up. Phone cords, iPad cords. You know how everybody has the new phones that you just plug one into the phone line,
Yep.
and then the rest of them work around the house? My cat chewed the electrical line to that one, which isn't like a replaceable plug. It's incorporated into the machine, so we had to replace all of the phones.
Have you ever had a
shoes, who
cat
chews up
brought
shoes.
into the clinic that had been suffered a
Electrocuted?
shock?
Yes. I've
Really?
seen 2 or 3.
When that happens, like if they're chewing on a cord and all of a sudden, zzz, what typically happens to
They
them?
typically get pleural edema, so fluid in their lungs, which I don't.
But I mean, did you
can't
just jolt
explain
them and knock them down like anyone who gets
nobody ever
electric
sees it.
shot? Okay, but when it happens, I mean,
I
like
don't know,
in a
nobody
human,
ever sees it.
They won't stop and kill them.
Can.
I would
Yeah.
think. Yeah, chewing on an electric cord and seeing that happen. Yeah, you never see it. You find out after the fact.
You know,
When the
they
lights
hear
go out,
somebody,
that.
or they hear somebody scream, or
Do they get knocked out?
I guess they can. I don't know. I've never seen it.
But you've had them come in, and then you
Yes.
can tell this was the
Yeah,
result
they have
of
burns in their mouth.
Oh, geez, poor thing. Yeah, that's something to take into account. Listen, let's take a break on that note. When we come back, Jimmy, Faye, and others have questions for you. And the lines are open if you want to jump in. 737-7587, just a conversation about pets. More right after this.